The stages for fighting games are getting bigger and bigger every year, but it doesn't get bigger than Evolution. Evolution is an annual major fighting game tournament. The world's best players come together for a multitude of games to truly decide who the world champion is for that year. Street Fighter V is set to be the biggest tournament EVO has ever hosted. Entry numbers have reached 5,065 individual participants. Players are training worldwide to try and get that top spot. However, a recent announcement is sure to make things a little bit more interesting. Ibuki and Balrog, two downloadable characters for the game, have just been released and are available for download. Although these characters are brand new, Ibuki and Balrog will be 100% legal for tournament use, meaning any player is permitted to use them to their heart's content. EVO 2016 is 2 weeks away. This has opened up mass discussion among the community. There are obviously a good number of pros and cons both ways, where some players are excited about the decision and some are somewhat concerned. Let's look at a couple of key points on both sides, factoring in input from players and spectators alike. Character loyalists exist in many fighting games. It's totally possible for a competitive player to have so much success with a single character. The lack of said character in the next game makes things a little bit trickier to learn. If that character makes it into the next game via DLC, players will have an instant connection. There are already Ibuki and Balrog players out there that have publicly said they're negating all other characters they've used prior, and will be using their new main 100% at EVO. It's been said by multiple players that although these characters are brand new, they feel a lot more comfortable using them than anyone else on the roster. However, this is a double-edged sword. You will have the unfamiliarity factor against many opponents that may not be as versed in the matchup. However, a brand new character with only a few weeks of experience behind you means tons of commitment to learn as much as possible, risking entering the tournament unprepared. There is always a huge spectator presence at EVO, both locally and online. Those on the fence about whether to buy new characters will watch the world's strongest players show these characters to the best of their abilities. It's a fantastic demonstration for competitive play. Referring back to the double-edged sword effect, there will be players that are simply not ready to face these new characters. They may have been unable to obtain correct matchup knowledge from training partners or online, and have to adapt in the heat of the moment should they encounter either character in tournament. Matchups can take months or even years to develop in certain cases. Sometimes, specific things can exist in competitive games that were missed in testing. New content might have some type of bug or exploit that can affect competitive play. There is always the risk that either character may have some hidden flaw somewhere that's too new for players to find, and may be too soon to fix or patch before EVO begins. A large amount of interesting stuff is being discovered by players as we speak, but all right now is intentional and not game-breaking, just effective and high-level strategies. We had the chance to catch up with Matthew Edwards, the Street Fighter community manager for Capcom in the UK. You can find him on Twitter at @TheStreetWriter. When asked about EVO, he writes, "It's no secret that every year EVO is the most anticipated date on the Street Fighter calendar. It's more than just a tournament, it's a coming together of fighting game players and fans across the globe, and it always delivers the hype." He also mentions that over 5,000 players have signed up to prove their mettle. That's not only a world record for largest fighting game tournament in history, it also means that the Street Fighter community is growing. On the topic of newer characters in the game, he writes, "For an average player like me, 2 weeks isn't long enough to become intimately familiar with the nuances of 20 matchups, but for legends of the game like Sako and PR Balrog, 2 weeks of solid training may be enough to get EVO ready." He also raises the point that everyone has the same amount of time to learn what these characters are capable of, be it playing them or playing against them. Matthew presented us with a poll that was created by Mr. Wizard, the tournament organiser of EVO. He wanted to find out from the general community if they'd like to see the new characters playable at the World Finals. The result was a rather resounding yes, 74% of the general votes out of a list of just under 8,000 people. Situations like these will always be subjective. EVO 2016 is set to be the biggest yet, and gets better as the years go on. The competition will be fierce regardless of character or player, with every best fighter on the planet in attendance and over 5,000 individual entrants. Street Fighter V is set to make the esports history books. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you there.